let's talk Tyson Fury versus Dereck Chisora. This will be my sort of final thoughts before the fight. I haven't mentioned this fight recently because I covered it semi-extensively first time this fight was scheduled, um, and there's been a bit more hype around the Eubank-Saunders fight, but this is the main event. This is going to be a great fight. I'm really looking forward to this, and yeah, certainly deserves a video. So I'm interested to put down a few thoughts on this one. Now, I think the key piece of form is obviously the first fight. Both guys have come on, both guys have changed, moved on, whatever, since the first fight. But let's make no bones about it, it's the same two guys, have been in a ring before, and it was a lopsided decision one way. Now, I know, as was recently proven by the Bellew-Cleverly fight, we can see reversals, especially when there's big changes ahead of a fight. You know, that time it was a different weight division, etc. But I think in this case, yes, Dereck Chisora was out of shape. Yes, he is looking better. He appears to have a new discipline, a new sort of diet regime. He appears to be taking it more seriously. He's put in improved performances. This is all well and good. But what we're neglecting is how much Tyson Fury's improved from that Dereck Chisora fight. I mean, let's not forget, at the time, Tyson Fury was 22 years of age, which is very, very young indeed when you're 6'9". Your body isn't fully developed at that age when you're that big a man. He also hadn't had proper experience. I mean, going into that fight, I don't think either of them had ever gone 12 rounds, to be fair, but he'd never been in a fight of that magnitude. I think the best opponent he'd been in with before then was John McDermott. I mean, how times have changed. Now we come back 3 or 4 years later. He's fought in the United States against Steve Cunningham. He's fought, you know, decent level of opposition in the UK. Obviously, he had that 12 rounds with Dereck Chisora. Also fought the likes of Kevin Johnson, etc. So Fury, like Chisora, will have improved a lot from that first fight. He has been inactive, which is a worry, but he looks fitter, he looks in better shape, he looks to have grown into himself a bit more. He's been in 12 round fights. You know, I think there's an argument to say both guys could have come on a lot for that fight. And it's not like a Bellew-Cleverly situation where the one sort of chains favoured one fighter. I think in this occasion, you know, both guys have come on. In terms of level of opposition they've been in with, I think Dereck Chisora has been in with the better level of opposition. Obviously, he's had fights with the likes of Helenius, Hay, Vitaly Klitschko, more recently the likes of Kevin Johnson, Gerber. I think Gerber was probably the best he looked. Malik Scott. He's probably been in with a slightly better level of opposition than Tyson Fury. However, at times, Chisora has been exposed. For me, Chisora's a good boxer. He's a good British, European level boxer. He's beating the likes of Edmund Gerber and that type of fighter. But for me, he's got limitations to his game, which make him slightly below elite level. In the David Hay fight, for example, I was at that fight. I felt like he was beaten to the punch. He was against a more athletic guy, a guy with a better jab, a guy with more advanced movement. And at times, in the big fights, Chisora's looked quite one-dimensional. He's sort of come forward with a sort of, you know, that bobbing and weaving thing he does. Throw your sort of hook combinations to the body, the big, slow, looping overhand punches. He's one-dimensional. He doesn't have a great long game. He doesn't have great power. I think he is better against taller men. I think, you know, against Tyson Fury, because he's so much smaller than Fury, his chin will be protected. I think he's got a good chin, and I think he's defensively sound. Even, you know, at times he's appeared hittable, but I think, and he does leave himself open when he swings wildly. I mean, that's how he got himself knocked out in the David Hay fight. But he's not a terrible defensive fighter, Chisora. So he is enough to cause people problems because he's a tough man, he's a big guy, but I don't think he's quite elite level. Now with Tyson Fury, I think there's so much potential there. The form against Dereck Chisora, winning that fight, very, very one-sided, was really impressive at age 22. He also has shown, real attributes and sort of different versatility to his game. This is a guy who, despite his size, has an elite level inside game for the heavyweight division. He's clearly got a brilliant long game, a brilliant jab, but this is a guy who can fight inside, he can fight at close quarters. He's also got pretty advanced movement and boxing pedigree. He's not like a Nikolai Valuev, who's very stationary, very immobile. This is a guy who can dance around the ring, throwing a long jab, step inside, rough you up, he wrestle with you on the inside, throw short punches on the inside. For me, he's a very, very well-rounded individual. His best performance, I've said Chisora's best performance was probably against Gerber. Fury's best performance was probably against Kevin Johnson. He pretty much whitewashed Johnson, and it was a boxing masterclass. A real display of movement, of a jab, defence. He's, on occasions, shown ill discipline. We've seen him dropped in fights with Nevin Piketts and with Steve Cunningham. We've seen him expose himself to that overhand right, a punch that Chisora does seem to favour. And there is a worry there, but I think when he's on his A game, when he's got Peter Fury in his corner, and when he's trained seriously for a fight, as we saw with Kevin Johnson, you can see the performance he puts on. It's very professional, it's very technical, and he relies on his attributes. I do think Fury's got more advanced movement than Dereck Chisora. I certainly think Fury has got better long game, outside work. I think based on the first fight, Fury can at least hold his own with Chisora on the inside. Truth is, I don't view either of them as massive one-punch knockout artists. I know Chisora looks like he's hitting a bit harder these days, and maybe he's got a bit more pace behind his punching now he's lost the weight. In terms of durability, a lot is made of Tyson Fury's chin. He's been dropped twice by B-level fighters, but I think it's a sign of a good chin that he was able to get back up and keep fighting. This isn't a guy who was knocked spark up. This isn't a guy who gave up in a fight. This isn't a guy who got stopped. This is a guy who's been dropped, but has been able to fight on. He's shown a ruggedness, he's shown a durability, he's shown a determination. Now, Chisora has been stopped by David Haye, which in itself, we know David Haye's a massive puncher. In itself, that isn't terrible. But I've also seen him rocked in fights with Andre Parla, in fights with Edmund Gerber. And I do wonder, since losing the weight, even if it's made him more mobile and a bit more dynamic, has he possibly lost some of his punch resistance? It's not impossible, given the drastic change in weight and physique that Chisora's had of late. All in all, I think it's a good fight. I think both guys are in with a shout, if at their absolute best. But I think I'd be strongly in favour of Tyson Fury for this one. I think Fury's got too many attributes and facets to his game. I think he's a versatile fighter, and I think the best is yet to come from Fury. He's still young, he's still improving, he looks to be in the shape of his life, and I truly believe Fury's got what it takes to be elite level. With Dereck Chisora, he seems to do very, very well until he hits that elite level. And when he hits that top 10 world-class level, Klitschko, Haye, Fury, I think he tends to get done. Chisora is a tough guy, he'll keep fighting, he's got experience of going 12. Fury isn't the biggest puncher in the world, but I do see it going rounds. And I do see Chisora having spells in the fight, but I think realistically, Tyson to win by a widest points decision is where I'm at on this one, and I expect Tyson to totally outwork Chisora and effectively give him a bit of a schooling at times with the jab, with the movement, with the inside game. Very, very strong on this one. Tyson Fury to win. I'd be very, very surprised if Chisora was able to get the victory in this fight. Let me know your thoughts.